Well, good morning, All Saints family. My name is Guy Delcambre. I am part of your clergy team here at the church as a priest and director over pastoral care, formation, and the arts. My goal this morning is to give you a brief update, peek into what's been happening over the past year along those three areas of the church, and then also point you toward the horizon of what's just ahead over the next 6 months in these areas. And so to get started, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context on what motivates these areas for us as a church. First of all, adult education is the largest part of what I do within the area of formation. Adult education is, first off, not just every single Sunday. So several people have asked me this throughout the year. We've devised adult education to be a rhythm of courses throughout the year so that we're not just creating some sort of Sunday school class experience, but we're creating classes and courses that are aimed to build you up in terms of the knowledge that you have, but then also connect them with a direct practice or an application. And I believe that's the full formational arc right there. Knowledge plus application or practice brings us all to a point of deeper understanding, which is good, which is what we're trying to do in formation. So we started out last year just with the basics, with introduction of Book of Common Prayer. We actually did a 6-week course to start off, and then because we had a lot of people continue to ask about the usage of the Book of Common Prayer, we did a 2-week intensive later in the year, in the early fall. Between those two courses, just about 100 of you across the church participated in that course, or those two instances of the course, which was deeply encouraging. And what I think is ahead of us is a continuation of the Book of Common Prayer on the regular each and every year. But I was very, very encouraged by that because we are people of a prayer book. The prayer book is one of our foundational texts. It's what we all experience together on a Sunday morning experience in the Eucharistic liturgy. So that was our starting point. Next stop on the adult education track was the creeds of the church, taking a look at the historical creeds and what constitutes creedal faith, because that's who we are as Anglicans, not just people who are defined by a multiplicity of confessions, but the ancient historical creeds within the church is sort of our center point of dogma and belief. That was well attended as well, which was really good. And then in the fall, fast forward through the summer, we took it off. And then in the fall, we approached more of a topical course on mental health. It was a course that we used called the Sanctuary course, which was multidisciplinarian, which is why I chose it. It was a group of theologians, a group of mental health professionals, and artists. Malcolm Guite, who some of you remember from earlier in the year, he had his hands in it as a poet and a priest, which just gave us a good green light to use that. And so the Sanctuary course was very well attended. It was lay-led by Carissa Lopez, which I was deeply grateful for. She did a fantastic job with a handful of other mental health professionals who were hosting conversations in conjunction with the teaching that was presented each and every week. And so that's sort of the lay of the land for what's been happening. And then what's ahead of us in adult education, currently we have a course now called Living the Liturgical Year, which is taking us through the rhythms of the liturgical year, but not just from historical survey, as it relates to what the liturgical year is all about, which is cohering our lives to the life of Christ throughout the year. And so that class is happening now. You can sign up. Another thing just on the horizon that starts in March is a 4-week course on the gospel or the Dominical sacraments, which is the sacrament of baptism and the sacrament of the Eucharist. Those are the two largest volume of questions that I receive from visitors, from guests, and even parishioners here within our family at All Saints. So very, very excited about that. Also, in terms of formation, want to remind you all that every Tuesday morning we gather at 8 a.m. for morning prayer here at the church. Now, it's fine if you can join, and I would encourage you to and commend you to, but What we have coming up starting next week is a new podcast that I think we're calling Daily Prayer, which will provide you with morning prayer on Tuesday morning and evening prayer on Thursday evening. You can listen to that each week on your commute. You can follow it along in your study along with your own prayer book. The idea is to familiarize us all more and more with the rhythms of daily prayer, which is incredibly important to who we are in our Anglican identity. So keep on the lookout on that. In terms of the arts, we were very busy for our first year. We started with an Advent art gallery. 7 artists who are members here at All Saints participated and displayed their work, which was fantastic. We coupled that with an Advent devotional, which was for families. This year, during the season of Advent, we had another thicker book, if you will, devotional that helped us throughout the Advent season. And then we also had Malcolm Geit here, poet, priest, who was pretty fantastic. And then an event that I'm deeply, deeply thankful that we did with Silas Farley, who is a member here along with his family. He's an artist in residence at SMU and just a fantastic dancer, teacher, coach, and just good all-around guy in the first place. So we did an event here at the church featuring several of his students along with a couple of pieces that he choreographed with an audience of about 120 people upstairs in our adult education space. So very, very excited about that. The last thing I'll say, and I don't mean this with the least importance, but the last thing is young adults. So Ross Early is an intern that works with us. He's a seminarian. I provide pastoral oversight for it. But I was deeply, deeply encouraged by our annual retreat. We hosted 40 young adults for a Friday evening dinner, and then most of them attended, I would say 30 or so attended the day-long retreat the Saturday after. And we were just exploring what it looks like to adhere to a rule of life in our own walks, and what does it mean as Christians, as people who are following Jesus, not just with our heads, but also with the rhythms of life that we establish within our days. So I think that's about all I have. I kind of wove in the updates along with what's ahead. I hope you can follow that along. I'll just reiterate the invitation for morning office. Join us on Tuesday morning. If you can't join us, subscribe to the podcast. It's going to be available and announced within the next week. And then sign up for the Living the Liturgical class, which is currently happening starting this Sunday morning. And then be on the lookout for the Gospel Sacraments class. Myself and Dustin are going to split that class, load on that class, and teach that. And then the last thing I'll say, Lent is coming up sooner than you know, and we will have some sort of artistic formational value thing that we're going to pull off. Not just myself, but a small committee of people, artists here at the church who are committed to beauty and art as a formational value to our own theological growth. So that's all I have. I hope it was good enough and not too fast for you to digest. Just know that there's a lot happening, and I do hope that you get involved more in the formational aspects of what we're doing. Get involved in the artistic things that we're doing here at the church, and deepen in your walk. So with that, friends, I'll say peace, and I hope you have a great warm day ahead.